can I 911 with the address of emergency?
I was doing a wellness check on a friend of mine that I was dating, and there's all over the floor in the living room.
What's his name?
Rosalio Gutierrez.
No matter how well you hit it off with somebody on a dating site.
A Las Vegas woman dies after friends and family say she was shot by her boyfriend.
She had tens of thousands of followers on social media, but her friends say Tabitha Tozzi's beauty caught the eye of the wrong man. Her boyfriend, Oswaldo Perez Sanchez, is now accused of...
All kinds of red flags went up.
In the picture you're currently seeing is a girl named Jasmine. Everything was perfectly fine, at least we thought, until she vanished. Leading up to her disappearance, we didn't see no signs that she would be in danger or may run away. It was just the day before, it was almost like everything was fine. And then the next day, it was almost like she just didn't exist no more. She was gone for weeks. Until we found out leading up to her disappearance, there were some disturbing things that we seen on the internet. Jasmine went through a very bad breakup because she was with somebody for a very long time. She put things on her Snapchat like, this life is way too stressful for me. And also things like, why me? Why does it always have to be me? Going through things like this. This scared her close friends and her loved ones because people automatically thought maybe she went away to unalive herself because she can't deal with the stress that she's going through. When someone is missing, you start to draw all of these conclusions because you don't know what's actually taking place. But then it gets strange because when 2 weeks go by, she just shows up. When she shows up, she was untouched. She looked like she was fine and almost like everything seemed completely normal. But she did something very dangerous when she decided to disappear because it was her choice to decide to disappear. And here's what happened. It turned out that she disappeared because of her breakup. She wanted to get away without telling a single soul. She decided to go to a cabin. She took the boat there. You have to take the boat here. There's no other way to get here unless you take a helicopter. This place is 3 hours away from everything. Around this cabin, on this water, is just water. And there are certain areas with trees, wooded areas in this water, by the way, because in Louisiana, we have wooded places in water. It's weird.
We have frogs here that mimic birds, called the tree voice frog. No. Bird voice street frog. Here we go.
But when you get to this cabin, because I've been there before, we usually will go there like 2 times out the year just to vibe out and have fun. Nobody never goes there alone. She never went there alone. This was her first time. She was so stressed and heartbroken that she just didn't even care. But she made a couple of mistakes. We'll get into this. When you get to this cabin, you have this long deck. Good morning. With this beautiful water around you. It's so relaxing. This is a 2 storage cabin, except it's honestly really 1 storage, but below it, you're outside underneath the cabin with a lot of storage there, like cooler, the generator, a lot of tools, just things like that. So you have to go up the steps and then you introduce to the front porch of the area where we vibe at and have fun at.
Be ready!
They're all about to lose. They not ready. I know you ready. When you go in, you introduce to the living room where people like to dance at. It's your birthday. And then we have the kitchen area. Next, we have the bunk bed area where everyone sleeps. That boy real life camouflage. Can y'all see him?
I did not.
And next door to the bunk bed area is like the king bed, the queen bed. It's a king or a queen, I don't remember, but it's a bed there. Then there's also a back porch looking out into the water, but that grass that you seeing, yeah, don't walk on that. It's very deep and there's alligators everywhere, but we love alligators. As you know, we Louisianans is best friends with alligators. We love them. This little smaller guy.
But you put him on the road, you know, and film that with him. It'd be better if we jumped in the water.
And in that same area, we even sunk a boat on accident and had to get in the water and unsink the boat. And that was a crazy story. My life is really a movie. Subscribe. I'll have to tell it someday. But she didn't make it to the cabin yet. She actually got lost on her way to the cabin. Like I said, it's 3 hours away, and you have to take all types of pads and turns on this boat to get there. This is her first time ever going alone, but she'd been going to this cabin for a decade now, since she was young, but she was using her phone map. And because it was our first time driving a boat here, she got lost because her phone died. She didn't have a portable. So when the sun set and it became nighttime, she decided to park her boat, which is a mud boat, by the way, which is perfect for this situation. Park her boat into the grassy, mushy area to get it stuck, and she was going to sleep at night. As she was chilling during the nighttime, she seen all of the alligator eyes just looking at her. She hear all of the frogs in the background, just all of this nature and animal noises as she sleep. Mind you, the area that she told us, she was surrounded by trees. Like, it is creepily scary at nighttime, but also relaxing in our waters. When morning hit, she has to get out the boat and push it from getting unstuck. It was deep enough to where she could stand in the mushy area and unstuck it to the deeper area.
Bro, this is like 2 inches of water, like 7 feet of mud. It's the most foul thing I've ever done.
Got in the boat, she started it up. She went to try to find the cabin. It took her even much more longer, but she eventually finds the cabin, and she stays there for literally 2 weeks. She said when she was there, all she did was just sit on the deck, look out at the water, cry, sleep, and eat. She bought food, she was prepared, she got things with her. She just dug the whole thing out for the whole 2 weeks. She charged her phone, made sure it was on 100, and went back home. I can't believe I'm recording that. 1, this is a very unexpected murder, and this poor sweet girl did not see it coming. Y'all already know what I'm about to say. Go get your snacks.
I just started off in your world.
Now, this girl named Heather, she's a girl working at this bar, and then she see this man come through. His name is Sidney. The reason why he comes to this bar because he had to fix and do some repairing with this bar. He was this older guy, but Heather was about, I think, 19 around this time, or 20. She loved older guys. When she seen him, she was in love. Here's some tweets that she put up. I got a taste for men who are older. I work at Hob, which is the bar, but I'll be there to get food later. Also, Sydney will be there tonight, so you know I gotta make an appearance. One of these days, I will drag that man into the mop closet and have my way with him. Lord have mercy. The guy who builds things at my job makes me want to cream myself. She wanted him. These two, they began flirting with each other, and they flirtation situations ended up becoming a serious relationship. Heather put up this tweet and she says she's in a relationship. Her friends are in the comments, they like, who? Heather like, I'll tell you tomorrow. A couple of months go by before things start to get a little bit crazy, and she says, once upon a time, an angel and a devil fell in love. It did not end well. But here's where things about to get a little bit crazy. Do y'all got y'all snacks? What y'all need to know about Sydney is Sydney actually have a wife, and Sydney also has kids. The wife didn't know anything about that. Her name is Tammy. Tammy then finds out what Sydney was doing behind her back the whole time with the girl named Heather who works at the bar. Tammy did not like it at all. She told Sydney, call Heather, for Sydney to sit there and watch Tammy, his wife, bash Heather to the ground. Like, she was calling her all types of names, telling her all types of stuff. One of the things she ended up saying is, you know, you nothing to my husband. You just somebody who spread your legs for him. That's all you ever was. She was going crazy. As Heather was getting this talk with Tammy, Heather also has this roommate. Her name is Brianna, and she was listening to the whole thing like, what the f is going on? That wasn't enough though. Tammy decides, you know, to get all sexied up, and she sent pictures to Heather and sent videos of her and her husband hooking up with each other to Heather. Hey, I told you, it's about to get wild. I don't know if y'all could tell, but Tammy is getting a little bit crazy. She would handcuff her husband to the bed every night so that she can have control of his phone, and she would watch him everywhere he go when he leaves the house, to make sure he don't do nothing. To make the step even much more further, she got her name tatted on his stomach. She was not playing. Now y'all have to remember, Heather and Sydney, they are not together no more. Even though Tammy knows this, she don't care if she know what happened. So she goes to take the much further step and try to get her fired from her job. It almost kind of worked, because she kind of lost hours, because Sydney would come into the bar regularly to repair things. The wife would tell the workers, the person who owns the place, if Heather keeps working there, my husband will not repair y'all shop. Then that's when Heather would jokingly post this quote, hey married fellas, you can either cheat on your wife or murder her. Never both. That's when you get caught. New Tosh. I don't know what Tosh and 30 mean, but yeah. Things would die down a little bit though when Tammy and her family with the kids and Sydney, they would all go to Disney World, have a good time. When she got back, things settled down a lot. But Heather, things wasn't too bad for her either. You know, life was going good, kept working, kept making her money, kept doing what she was doing in her regular daily life until her workers and her friend Brianna noticed something. You putting on weight. And more people would notice that as well. As time goes on, she had to get bigger clothes for her uniform for work. Then she realized, I might be pregnant. She did take a pregnancy test, but it came as an error, which means she couldn't find out if she was pregnant or not. But this rumor will spread around this town and it led back to Tammy. She didn't like it. Hang on to y'all seatbelt. Really listen to this. Okay, so Heather's roommate, Brianna, she goes out of town. Then Heather finds a new guy. She goes on a date with the new guy. Now, this is the following night that Heather disappeared. According to Brianna, she said that this was Heather's first official date when she finally left Sydney. The guy Steve would pick her up, and it was around Christmas time, so they had the lights up, and he would drive her in his car and they would look at the lights. Took her to the parking lot so she can learn how to drive this car. I guess it was like a manual car. He took a picture of her driving. She ended up sending this picture to her dad. She was happy to finally do something. I guess she wanted to drive a manual. The guy Steve would then drop her off back home, and then later on that night, surveillance footage caught Sydney at Walmart buying a pregnancy test. Long story short, Sydney ended up calling Heather, telling her we need to meet up. Heather immediately tells her best friend, her roommate, Sydney wants to meet up with me. I think we are going to meet up. Brianna said no, don't.
I have been called a liar. I've been told that I'm in on it, that I know where she is. I've been told that I played a part in her disappearance. There's people that still message me today and with the most crazy accusations of what they think happened.
Yes, Heather ends up leaving. Now her phone was able to get pinged, so it was said that she was going to a bar, then changed her mind and turned around. When she turned around to go somewhere else, her phone tried to call Sydney. Got no answer, then she turns around again, go back home, and tries to call him again and got an answer. Sydney was at his house and Heather makes it to her apartment. Heather was at her apartment and they talked. The call lasted about 4 minutes. Then deeper around 3 a.m., her phone then leaves her house and go in this wooded area. Around that time, a car on a surveillance camera caught the car just flying past the street, heading towards that area. It was Sydney's vehicle. A little bit more time goes on, but then there's no activity during Heather's phone at all. Then the car ended up coming right back from that place where Heather's phone was just pinged in that wooded area. It was coming right back. Then all of a sudden, it was nothing from Heather.
I've never quite seen a case like this.
So he said love you, hung up, and that was the last time I talked to her.
And a shattered community in search of Heather.
I would love for Heather to be at home right now.
She's been missing for 5 years, and this woman is believed to be behind her mysterious disappearance.
Missing person case was open. Her car was later found. A search had happened, but nothing.
In the search for missing 20-year-old Heather Elvis. On Saturday, dozens of cars and horse trailers lined the heavily wooded area around Ronald McNair Boulevard, just off Highway 501 in Myrtle Beach. Groups of volunteers continued to help in the search.
The police searched Sydney's and Tammy's house. Their house was apparently a mess, and they found like guns. They didn't really find much. They noticed that the couple was spotted on their own surveillance camera cleaning their truck. Then apparently both of the two was arrested. Kidnapping, the murder of her, the disappearance of her, the whole shebang, the whole nine.
When was the last time you talked to her before that 3 or 4 minutes?
Oh, probably the last thing that was said or anything was she sent a period to me and that was it.
And that was through text messages or phone calls?
And I didn't.
Did she normally text or call?
Usually it was text.
Because you can delete them a little easier? Or?
Well, no, that's just usually the way we talk. Cause
so she started texting or calling you and you could calling her back. I mean, she's a young, pretty girl.
Yeah.
You know.
She was interested in.
The two was released because they paid for bond. People were like 50-50. The body wasn't found, I guess she's alive. And then people was like, no, the couple definitely done something to her. It's obvious, like, duh.
Then there's a murderer or a kidnapper or whatever running around somewhere in this community. And no one even knows.
Those two would just say, we don't have anything to do with her death. We don't know what happened to her. And apparently, no one knows what happened to her. Her body was never found. And the truth has not came out. And everybody was just there only to think about what had happened.
It seems like we all know what happened to some degree.
I know I'm not the only one who doesn't believe Sydney for a second when he says that when he talked to Heather on the phone, he said that he asked her to leave her alone and not to talk to her anymore.
Enough's enough. Stop calling me. Stop texting me. Look, you just need to stop.
That quite simply makes no sense.
I feel bad for Sydney and Tammy's children, who lost not one but both of their parents because their parents are such idiots and can't function like normal human beings who are married and go to counseling or get a divorce.
Well, wait. There's something that I missed out that I have to tell y'all. It's kind of dark. Y'all probably would have expected it anyways, but here it is. Tammy texts Heather and says, "Tell me where you are right now, or I will find out another way. That way won't have a great turnout for you. I'm giving you one last chance to answer before we meet in person. Only one." So much time has happened, and we're still stuck, left with things. Someone murdered her. The couple murdered her. She was coincidentally kidnapped, or trafficked, or she ran away, or she's still alive, but she's just vanished somewhere out here in the world. What do y'all think? I really want to know. I really do. Even though I probably already know y'all answers, but be careful who you date.
I've been thinking of doing bad things to you.
Don't mind my hair, but let's talk. To end this off, I'ma let y'all hear my theory. I'ma first off start by saying those eyes. It's something about those eyes that don't sit right with me. And that's just me looking at pictures and videos of her. As crazy as this sounds, I don't think she murdered her. Here's what I think happened. They hired someone. Now wait. She leaves her house. She goes to this place with the water and the woods. She disappeared and she cannot be found. 5 years go by, no trace of her, no body was found. K9 units couldn't even sniff this girl. Nothing. And it was their car that rode past the footage, but it wasn't them in it. It was somebody who they hired to kidnap her or maybe murder her. Why would he say this?
So you're saying it could be your truck, but you were not in it?
I'm saying no one I knew was in it.
So somebody magically stole your car? And it all makes sense why they didn't care for their house to be searched. They didn't leave no evidence behind, no fingerprints, nothing, because it was not at the scene at all.
When they came and asked to look in our house, we let them look in our house with no warrant. Look around. Do what you want to do. So
as she's there waiting on Sydney or the couple, she found herself in a situation where she's about to get kidnapped from somebody they hired.
Because if I confess to something I didn't do, then there's a murderer or a kidnapper or whatever running around somewhere in this community. And no one even knows.
Like, do I sound crazy or does this add up? But you know what? I'm gonna end it there before I lose my mind on this.